Program is the active center. Program is the active center.
You know, the president said something recently that the most beautiful word in the dictionary isn't love or freedom.
It's tariff.
Exactly. Tariff. And here we are, February 8th, 2026. It has been 1 year to the day since that beautiful word became policy.
And it has been quite a year. You've got headlines on one side calling it an economic miracle, and on the other, a total disaster.
Total chaos.
Right. We're going to look at the government data, the economist's notes, and figure out what this whole experiment has actually meant for your wallet.
So let's start with the strategy itself, because the administration was really specific about their logic. They call it reciprocal tariffs. The idea was that the U.S. has sort of been the world's piggy bank. You know, letting other countries charge us high duties while we charge them next to nothing.
So this was about leverage, matching them dollar for dollar. But the legal mechanism they used was the fascinating part this year.
Oh, yeah. This wasn't just a bill through Congress.
Not at all. They invoked the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, the IEEPA.
And what does that do?
It lets the president declare a national emergency, in this case at the border, and that allows them to bypass Congress and basically slap 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada, just like that.
Directly tying trade to stopping drugs and migrants.
Exactly. And if you look at the Treasury's bank account, it seems to have worked.
What are the numbers?
In fiscal year 2025 alone, customs duties hit $195 billion.
Wow, that's a huge jump.
It's a 150% jump. We're watching the government literally shift its revenue model from taxing what you earn to taxing what you buy.
And the plan is to use that money to fund tax cuts.
That's the plan. Secretary Besson says they're on pace for $500 billion a year. And to be fair, there is a bright spot in the data. Industrial output in those tariff-sensitive sectors is up 3.5%.
So if you make widgets in Ohio, you probably had a good year.
A pretty good year.
But here's the thing that I can't get past. The Treasury is full of cash, right? But the Chinese or Mexican governments, they didn't write those checks.
And no, they did not.
So if the money's in the U.S. Treasury, it came from a bank account here, usually from the importer. A company like Walmart or Target.
You have just hit on the absolute core of the debate. Economists like Robert Reich, Joseph Stiglitz, they have been shouting this from the rooftops.
That tariffs are just a tax on us.
A regressive tax, yeah. Target doesn't just absorb that 25% cost. They pass it straight on to you at the checkout counter.
So is there a number on that? What's the sticker price?
The Tax Foundation ran the numbers. For the average American household, this policy looks an awful lot like a $1,300 tax increase over the past year.
$1,300.
Yeah.
Ouch. That is painful for a policy that was sold as making them pay.
Yeah. And speaking of things not going to plan, let's talk about the trade deficit.
Because the whole point was to shrink it, but I saw it actually grew.
It did. It grew by 4% to nearly $840 billion. It's a paradox.
How does that even happen? You tax imports like crazy, but you end up importing more.
It was a panic, a classic front-loading response. Retailers saw the tariffs coming and just bought everything they could get their hands on.
So they filled every warehouse in the country to beat the deadline.
Every single one. So you got this huge artificial spike in imports that completely blew up the deficit numbers.
Which explains some of the weird data. But the strangest tug of war I see is between inflation and jobs. The White House is taking a victory lap because core inflation dipped to 1.4%.
It did. But there is a giant asterisk next to that number.
Okay.
You remember the government shutdown late last year?
Vaguely. Feels like a lifetime ago.
Well, when the Bureau of Labor Statistics shuts down, nobody's walking the aisles checking the price of milk. So critics argue that number is artificially low because the data collection itself was disrupted. They just stopped counting for a bit.
So we might not have a clear picture. Meanwhile, the jobs outlook is less ambiguous.
It is. The models are predicting a loss of nearly 500,000 full-time equivalent jobs.
Which makes sense. If you're Ford and your steel just got 25% more expensive, you're probably not hiring more people for the assembly line.
That's the trade-off. You get the revenue, but you squeeze your own industries. Nancy Sleeton at Northwestern says the real killer here is just the uncertainty. Businesses are freezing investment because they don't know if these tariffs are here to stay.
Which brings us to the, what you might call the House of Cards scenario. We mentioned IEEPA earlier. That emergency power.
It's sitting in front of the Supreme Court right now.
And this is the big one.
This is the $90 billion question. If the court rules that using emergency powers for economic tariffs was unconstitutional, the Treasury doesn't just lose future revenue.
They might have to refund the money they've already collected.
Can you even imagine the paperwork?
Yeah.
Trying to refund $90 billion to thousands of importers?
It would be a complete logistical nightmare.
Yeah.
A massive blow to the budget.
Exactly. So while some factories might be humming today, the entire foundation is resting on a single court ruling.
So, an economic miracle built on leverage, or maybe
Yeah.
a bubble just waiting to burst.
Yeah.
Something for you to chew on. Thanks for diving in with us.